Virtu is finally here, and I'm really excited about it. This is something that I've been working on for a while, that I'm really passionate about, and something that really is a representation or an accumulation of the last 8 years of my life. What Virtu really is all about is it kind of stems from this idea that I don't necessarily agree with the way that humans are living right now. I think that the system is broken. I don't think we're living as nature intended or as nature requires us to live. Humans have the highest amount of distractions. We are the least present as a society that we've ever been before. And I just think we're out of touch with what's really important to us. I want to give people purpose. I want to give people their health back. How this all started was, obviously, I'm a personal trainer. That's how I got into this industry. That's what I do by trade. The reason that I do that is because my passion, my purpose, my drive, whatever you want to call it, is to make a lasting impact in the lives of the people that I get the chance to work with. And at first, the avenue to do that with was training. But then what happened is I really realized that the people who got really good results, they changed the way that they slept. They changed the way that they ate. They changed the people that they surrounded themselves with. They changed what they watched on TV. They changed their habits. Like, they pretty much changed their whole lives. What that made me realize was there's 168 hours in a week. If someone trains with me 4 times a week, which is a lot of training, like most people usually only train about 3 times per week, that's still less than 2% of their entire week. It's not enough to make long-lasting changing results. So that really made me start thinking that my approach has to be more full-encompassing. Where Virtu kind of stemmed from was trying to deliver a blueprint as to how people should be structuring their lives to live as nature requires, or to live virtuously. I lived in Costa Rica for a month with my girlfriend last year. The main difference that I could see about everybody's lifestyles was they really lived in touch with nature. They practiced fitness every day. Everyone kind of like rises with the sun early in the morning and then goes to bed with the sun, which I thought was important. There's like this community aspect that's kind of like centered around nature. So that really started making me think, because it just seemed that everyone was happier. Well, there's something here. There's something to this way of life. Maybe it's the low stress, maybe it's being near the ocean. But the overarching thing that I took away from it was just the idea that everyone seems to be living a drastically different lifestyle than the lifestyle that people are following in North America. I'm starting to think of like names, and I said, okay, I'm gonna name the business Catalyst. The definition of catalyst is a person or a thing that inspires great change. And I was like, that's me, that's what I do. Like, I wasn't the first guy who was like, oh, I'm gonna open a fitness business and call it Catalyst. That kind of had me like back to the drawing board, because I really wanted this brand, this company, this rebrand that I was going through to be like super original. At this point, I was reading this book called The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. There's this passage in the book titled Inner Citadel, and I was really resonating with what passage was kind of conveying. And the idea of an inner citadel is this notion that it's this structure, this fortress inside of you that you're not born with. You have to build and cultivate through doing hard things, through mental practice, physical exertion. But when you build up this structure, this fortress, it kind of acts as like protection from the outside world. So to me, this all meant like, this is like your will. And I really, really was enjoying that. I told my girlfriend, I was like, that's it. Calling the business Inner Citadel. And her first reaction was, are you sure? And I was so set on it at the time that I was like, yep, positive. And she was like, okay, I understand what you're trying to convey, and I understand like the meaning and everything of Inner Citadel that you really like, but I think we need to find a way of saying that without being so literal. I was pretty set on that, and it actually got to the point where we started working with a designer, and she put together the whole logo, she put together the name, everything. And it wasn't until I saw it on paper where I realized that it wasn't it. I was kind of like back to the drawing board. And it was actually my girlfriend asking me this question that kind of like stemmed the whole birth of Virtu. And what she asked me was, she said, okay, well, what is the best compliment that someone could give you? And this really got me thinking. If you had to ask me 5 years ago, I would have been like, well, if someone told me I was jacked, I would be pretty happy. I've learned and grown since then, and then it dawned on me, if someone called me virtuous, that would be quite the compliment. That's not a word that's in a person's like everyday vocabulary. The definition of virtuous is someone who has high moral standards. So then we were like, that's it, virtuous, virtue. and the tagline is going to be live virtuously. And this whole kind of idea of me delivering the blueprint, like we're kind of trying to show you how to live a virtuous life. And if you live a virtuous life, you're going to excel in all areas of your life, and you're going to live a life full of purpose and devotion. Started getting into the brand values, living a life of balance. And my favorite quote about this one is, "What a shame it is for a man to grow old and not see the beauty and strength in which his body is capable of." And to me, that quote is all about balance. It's not okay for me to be only consumed with what I look like and my physical appearance, and not focus on like reading and studying and expanding other areas of my life. So to me, living virtuously, it means being a balanced individual, and obviously having high moral standards, and just trying to be a good person and try to treat others the way that you want to be treated. That led us to kind of having 3 core values, and those core values are physical, mental, and spiritual. So physical is all about maximizing your genetic potential. It's not about comparing yourself to others, because that's not something that's ever going to go well for you. There's always going to be someone who has more money, who has a better body, who is more successful. So really, physical is all about, the only person that you should compare yourself to is the person that you were before. So this is like the continuous pursuit of maximizing your genetic potential. And through maximizing your genetic potential, what you're also going to do is you're going to optimize your health. So physical is maximizing your genetic potential and optimizing your health. So mental was a tough one for me, because I originally used to say that I'm all about self-improvement. But what the term self-improvement really means is it's implying that I'm not already perfect the way that I am. So now I've kind of changed my way of thinking, and what mental really means to me is learning, growing, and expanding, and committing to that for life. So this notion, or this idea of being a lifelong learner, that's really what mental is about for me. Spiritual is a tough one. For me, it's really hard because I live in my head a lot. And one of my mentors taught me that there's 3 ways that people can live. You can be living in your head, you can be living in your emotions, and the 3rd way of living is the way that you want to kind of strive for, and that's living through your heart. Being spiritual, or spirituality to us, is about being present in the current moment. I think that is the best way to practice spirituality, is being present, because in today's day and age, it's so easy to get distracted, whether that's by your phone, whether that's by TV, the news, whatever. And living in the present moment is the best way to actually be spiritual. And this looks like a bunch of different things. Like obviously this can be breath work, this can be meditation, this can be journaling, this can be self-reflection. But the whole general idea is that being present and living through your heart. Where virtue kind of comes into play with all 3 of these core values is the idea of balancing them all out. So not being too much of one thing or too little of another. We want to continue to strive and grow in all of those aspects of life. Yeah, that's kind of how virtue was born. And I'm obviously really passionate about it. And as I mentioned, it kind of all stems from this idea that we're not living the way that I think that we should be living. We're not living as nature requires. And one of my favorite quotes of all time is, most people die when they're 30 and get buried when they're 80. I love that quote so much, that is exactly what we're not trying to accomplish with virtue. We're trying to have you live virtuously for your entire life, so you can enjoy your life, you can be present, you can maximize your genetic potential, you can always be learning, growing, and expanding, and living through your heart. And I think that it's really powerful, and I'm really excited to share it with you guys. Like I said, it's been an accumulation of the last 8 years for me. And this is really the avenue that I think I'm going to be able to help the most people as possible, and the avenue that I think I'm going to be able to make the largest impact on people's health and people's lives. So I'm really happy to share it with you guys. Posting a lot of content. We're going to be sharing a lot of information, and just really kind of giving our take on how to live virtuously, and kind of showing you how to live a life full of purpose and devotion. That we want you to live virtuously for your entire life. So thank you very much. Really excited about it, and I can't wait to share more.